actually, we wanted to ask your opinion on something that's come up in theoretical, actually, but we're suddenly going, not sure about this. So I'll hand over to Catherine and she'll go through what we're trying to decide on.
Yes, so this was a question from a club, and it's made us all sort of sit back, have a think, not reach an agreement yet. So we thought it'd be good to get your input. So this is about staff members who have an active warning, so a first written or a final warning that's still active on their file, and whether you think they should still be entitled to the annual pay rise and a bonus or a bonus. So yeah, over to you, Chris and Melanie. What do you think? What's your opinion? What do you want in your club? Anything else you want? Over to you.
So you're saying that if someone do we think they should be entitled to pay rise and bonus if they've got a written warning on their file? Yes.
Yes, an active warning. So it's not expired.
Yes. So
you think they should still be entitled?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and this is not me saying you're wrong. This is just a discussion. Why do you think that?
Because it is just a warning that things aren't right and they need to fix it. You can't punish them if you've put in place the steps for them to correct whatever the warning was about. Unless they're doing that again, how can you punish them for other stuff in other ways by removing things that kind of everybody else gets?
Okay, perfect. Melanie?
What if that warning was about poor performance?
Well, then it should be addressed you should be addressing that in the warning. Sorry, Melanie, you should be addressing that in the warning and saying, these are the sanctions we're going to take. But I don't think you can say that because of your performance, we're removing the bonus, or if you can, that should be in the warning. But you can't just sort of say, you've got a warning because your performance is poor, and then 2-3 months later, you kind of go, all the annual bonuses have come out, but you're not getting one because there's an active warning on your file. It seems a bit arbitrary.
Melanie,
I would say it depends on what your pay and fee schemes are. So if it's a performance related, or is it due to standard give somebody 2% or 2% each year without it being performance related? So if it's performance related, then the amount of pay review that they get will be relevant to what the warning is, because they obviously haven't performed in the previous however long. But if it's an active warning, then that active warning is likely to come off their file in the duration of the next 12 months. So we're then penalising them in 3 months' time or the next 9 months if their warning is due to come off after 3 months. So I don't know what the right answer is, but if I had somebody, I would probably, if it was performance related, I would adjust their reward or their increase in relation to it being a performance related increase. So if it worked out that it should have been 3% and then you do the maths and it's 2% and they get the 2%. But I would look at how long that warning is on and then maybe move the review and they have their review after the warning comes off.
Okay. Yeah, it was interesting because once we started talking about it, we're like, oh, okay, actually now I'm going to say quite a lot of companies that we deal with, obviously our clients, are small and they don't clearly define performance factors. That's always an issue when they say, oh, well, you haven't met your target. Well, you didn't actually define any target. So that's the problem anyway. But it was because there is a clause in our template about commission. So commission, was relatively easy for us. We're like, if they've earned commission, even if they've got a warning on file, they should get the commission. Okay, you must have clear criteria for them earning commission that has something to do with it. The bonus, if it just is effectively, instead of a pay rise, we're giving everybody £1,000 bonus. Again, is that even relevant to any warning that was there? Because like you say, it would be penalising them for longer. And certainly the percentage pay rise, it's like they would never catch up with somebody else. So you're actually penalising them for years because they didn't get, I don't know, 3% pay rise this year, and next year they will qualify it, but they're already behind everybody else. So then that doesn't seem fair either. And that led then into us talking about people who've given notice, that actually usually in our commission template, it says, if you've given notice or you've been dismissed, you're not going to earn any commission. And then suddenly went, okay, so then we're definitively saying that you can earn commission up to the moment you resign. That's fine. But then we're effectively going to put you on gardening leave, because there's no point having somebody working their notice if they're not earning commission, because why would they actually do any work? Well, I don't know that any of us here would. We're all very motivated, absolutely. But I don't know that any of us would if we're not getting commission, if we were getting commission. Because what's the point? If you don't want them to get commission when they're in their notice period, then just put them on garden leave and do it that way. But it's not an automatic thing. So we were going around a little bit in circles. So we're just trying to, with actual business owners, feel about this. And that's quite interesting that you've been more on the nice side than the penalising side.
Yeah, the other thing is, if somebody's on national minimum wage, they will get the 2%, 3%, 4% salary increase, regardless of whether or not they've got a warning on file or not. So
Yeah.
potentially your salary increase, you would be penalising those people who are not on a minimum wage, who are on a higher salary, which is on, you're then treating two members of staff who do the same job differently, which would then be unfair. So why just one person who's on national minimum wage get an increase, and then somebody who's not doesn't get an increase?
Yeah, but they've both got a warning on file. Yeah, doesn't seem fair. Okay, brilliant. No, that's very useful. Thank you.
So what is the answer?
No, there isn't.
There is, so there is no right or wrong in this. So we had a discussion on
which one's going to get us in the tribunal.
Well, so your current contracts, if you've got the bonus clause in there, it does say for bonus that you will not get the bonus if you're on a live warning, an active warning. Your pay rises in your handbook does not say it. It just says it's discretionary. So there's no right or wrong answer. It's just a club asked if they could. Yes, you can, but we had a discussion of, is that something we want to offer? Because if you're going to introduce that as a rule, it needs to be stipulated somewhere. So it was good to have that discussion with you, because if you wanted that, we'd have to put that in your contract or handbook. And if you don't want that, which I think is the winner of the debate today, then we don't need to put it into a contract or handbook.
No.
So no right or wrong answer.
Yeah, it states that you'll review a pay rise. It doesn't say you'll give a pay rise.
Yeah.
And we don't have to give pay rises anyway, so we don't have to.
No, just for senior members of staff, obviously, Mel.
Yeah, pardon?
Only for senior members of staff, obviously.
Don't get pay rise. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but we weren't even talking about review. We were talking about actual pay rise. If everybody else in the company, bar that one person, had a 3% pay rise, not performance related, then that person should, even though they've got an active warning, because otherwise it is that penalising for a much longer period of time, which is not the point of it. Yeah. But it's good to have this discussion before it actually gets into, while it's theoretical, because once somebody's actually misbehaved and on a warning, that's when people are like, no, they're not getting anything. It's like, no, let's talk about it while we're calm, shall we, before we get annoyed. Yeah, that's the thing. So that was good. I was over in Belfast over the weekend. I did a talk for the Northern Ireland GCMA on Tuesday morning, and we did the standard quiz that I do for the golf clubs to see that you all know exactly what you're supposed to be doing, all the statutory stuff. And it was interesting. I haven't spoken in Northern Ireland for 5 years. Not a deliberate plan. It's just that's how it's worked out. And they were, which is why we obviously want to help them. They were notably worse in their general knowledge of employment law than the mainland UK golf club managers are, which is interesting, because I would not have said that was an incredibly high benchmark that we were trying to get to. And it was an even lower benchmark. So you start in the quiz that we do, and maybe we'll do that one of these days. Actually, that's quite a good idea. We'll do that in a couple of weeks. Is you start off with 20 points, and you get 2 points if you get an answer right, and you get -2 because you'll get fined if you get an answer wrong. That's how it works in employment law. You don't just get evens, you get actual fine. So we spend a lot of time doing the math on this quiz. Everybody has great fun taking points off for bad handwriting and everything like that. And the team that won had -1 point, and I'm like, "Oh, is that really good?" And I'm like, "No." And she's like, "Well, what do people usually get when they win this section? Because you get chocolate if you win." I said, "They usually get 6 or 8 out of 20." They did, but the best one there was -1, and the losers actually had -18 points. So they basically got one right and everything else wrong. But these are people who also, they have different employment law in Northern Ireland is slightly different. So, for example, they have only 1 year for unfair dismissal rather than 2 years like we have. You can still give an oral warning. You don't even need to put it in writing, which is a bit of a waste of time, because guess which employee is going to say they never got an oral warning if you've not put it in writing. And you only have to give them a contract within the first 2 months. It's still back to pre-April 2020 time. So all of these things that I obviously spent hours researching to make sure I was giving them correct information, none of them knew it, and they work in that environment. And this is why I feel my work will never be finished. And I'm very happy to go out and, educate people, because it's like, you should know this. I had to learn it, but you're living this. Anyway, so always good fun to see what everybody knows or doesn't know. So yes, that was brilliant. And I got to see Giant's Causeway as well, and the Titanic Museum. And it was lovely weather, but not quite what was here. So that was good. Viji or Nadia, do you want to?
Yeah, I'm happy to go. I've been doing a little bit of tribunal research recently and stumbled upon an interesting case. I thought it might be good to go through. So just to give you the background and the details of the case, right? So the person making the claim, the claimant, worked for their employer and then was dismissed for poor performance. Then a year later, they applied to work for their employer again. Now, to apply, like I guess most people will have seen, they needed to make an online like an online account, and then fill in the pre-screening application questions online. So normal, standard for most job applications. The issue is that this claimant has dyspraxia, and if you don't know what that is, it's a condition which affects movement and coordination. And a byproduct of that is people who need to write or type or draw can find it more difficult to do that with dyspraxia, particularly with managing, filling in things in boxes like you need to do for application questions. So the employee knew, or the claimant knew, that they couldn't fill in the online account, and they emailed the HR team of the employer to say they were interested in the role and asked if they could have a phone call to go through the questions rather than needing to type them out. Normal and standard. The HR team responded back and asked what specifically they were struggling with so that they could help. And they did ask that over email multiple times. The claimant never actually responded to what was wrong. And in the end, they couldn't make an account and the role was offered to someone else. Okay. The claimant then goes to an employment tribunal to say that the process wasn't fair for someone with a disability. And once the case goes to tribunal, it's judged that although the employer asked multiple times over emails what the issues were with the form, they never actually responded to the query on whether the employee could make a verbal application. So they were doing a great job asking, what's wrong so we can help, what's wrong so we can help, but they never said, yes, we can help, you can do a verbal one, or say, let's schedule a call so we can talk through your issues. So the person who has dyspraxia, who's finding it more difficult to type, they only try to resolve their issue through the thing that they're having a problem with. The case then actually got appealed by the employer, who again were like, we feel like we've made reasonable adjustments. Even at the employment tribunal appeal, it was ruled that they didn't make enough reasonable adjustments by allowing them to submit the application verbally or calling them to speak to them about the issues. And the key point is that because they had worked for them before, and this the claimant was open about it, and it was on their CV, they knew that they had dyspraxia. So they should have put 2 and 2 together and said, oh, this might be a bit more difficult, and called them. Now, if you ever had an issue with your employees about us, or they're not working and you need to contact them, a lot of the times we'll suggest you call them and email them or try and get in contact with them in multiple different ways. Now, although this is a bit far from that, the reason is the same. For someone who finds it difficult to communicate in one way, you as the employer, it's useful if you feel that you've tried to do it in multiple different methods. So a phone call, a letter, an email, a message, even so, just gives you the cover that we've tried to support them in their issue in multiple different ways. The other thing that I thought was useful here is this employee felt more comfortable calling or emailing the HR team for the application because they'd already worked there. But I'm thinking for you guys, if you've got any applications or putting any job adverts out, make sure you've got alternative methods on there if someone has an issue that they can contact. So even if it is just a phone number at the bottom or an email or a website link or something, just so that someone who is having a problem can reach out to you, and then you can make sure that you're covered there in case there's any flags. But interesting case. But as I was reading through it, I was a bit like, I don't really see what the employer's done wrong until the explanation that they haven't actually made the extra step. All they've done is ask them what's wrong, but they haven't made the adjustment. So just an interesting case for this week.
Right. Thank you. Oh, Chris. Yes.
Just a quick comment there. Interesting that they upheld all of that, even though the candidate didn't actually try and phone. They persisted with email and got responses by email, which you kind of always think you should respond in the way that you've been initially communicated with, but they still upheld the issue, even though the candidate themselves didn't try and phone. But yeah, it's really good feedback. That appreciate that.
100%. Agreed,
Yeah.
right? Like the employee probably hasn't made enough of a step either, but because the onus isn't on them to make the adjustment, it's on the employer. That's where the issue comes in. But yeah, I agree with that, to be honest.
Can I ask one
Thanks,
other
Tim.
question? What was the time lapse between the employer leaving the business and starting again?
A year.
So there could be change of staff in that time, and we don't have to keep that data for that period of time.
Yeah.
That previous
GDPR
month.
that you
So-
have to delete it.
Yeah, so that is a little bit unfair on the employer to expect them to put two and two together and make four that person's got dyspraxia. So
Sorry, detail that I missed out. It is listed on their CV, and they had to send in their CV. So whoever would have had to review it at the beginning would have been able to see it. But yeah, it would have been a good shout. The change of staff stuff is useful. But yeah, it was on their CV.
Yeah, and as always with these things, discrimination per se, you have to prove you didn't discriminate as an employer. They don't have to prove particularly that you did. And this is just taking it to that extra step where I don't think it's fair. I think you're right, Chris. Why, if they sent something by email and we replied by email, why was that a problem? But the point is they're saying, well, it isn't enough. And usually these sort of application forms are more in the corporate world, that you have enough resources that you could have actually done something about this rather than just blindly send the emails, which just seems the easy way to do it.
I'm on a webinar as well, so I can't hear anything.
Sorry, that was
But sadly
Right,
not
sure.
muted.
no, exactly. That's right. So yeah, just be aware that anything to do with disability, the onus is on you to do everything possible to get in touch with people and to communicate what you're trying to achieve, not just in the easiest way, but in every way, because I don't know how much money this person got. Did it say how much the award was?
No, it didn't say the award.
So it won't have been thousands probably, but there will have been an award, and even worse, with all of these things, other legal costs that you're going to have paid easily £10,000 to have got to court and then to appeal it. What we talk more like 20,000 actually, and you'll not get that money back. So that's the thing with all of what we're saying, that we need to do everything reasonable. And just building on what Siji said about when people go AWOL and don't turn up for shifts or for work, it's not the reason we do contact them, even though some employers are like, well, I sent them an email. That's fine. No, you have to prove that you did everything reasonable so that they can't say, I never got that email. Now, you couldn't prove usually that they did get the email. They don't have to give you a read receipt, okay? But if you've sent them, you've done a voicemail, you've rung them, you've sent them a text message, you've sent them a WhatsApp message, you've sent them an email, worst case, you've sent them a letter, you might have hand-delivered a letter, although we don't tend to go there if we can avoid it. There is no reason why that didn't get through. But I had this at my hotel in Belfast. They're like, oh, yeah, we'll ring you when your room's ready. I never got the call. I knew that was because they were just, incompetent. But I said, when I got there, I said, you never called me. Oh, yeah, no, we did. It just didn't go through. No, you didn't call me. There's no missed call. There's no voicemail. I use my phone for business. It absolutely does work in Belfast, actually. And they're like, oh, yeah, no, we will have called you. No, you didn't call me. Oh, well, yeah, but the room wasn't ready anyway. So did you call me or didn't you call me? And I thought, actually, Caroline, that's not going to be great because, they've got to make my bed and everything and they could just be horrible to you. So let's just leave it now. You're right. They're wrong. Excellent. Moving on. But the point is that you've got to do that when employees go AWOL to prove that you've done everything. And we do want to find out that they are safe. They might be irritating, but if it's just that they drank too much and they're just sleeping off, that's one thing. If there are mental health issues, we also need to be able to find that out quite quickly so that we can involve other people where necessary. So, Nadia.
So I'm taking the horror case today. So I wanted to chat to you guys about what can happen when a process goes wrong in the first place. So this is a golf club. They had an investigation meeting with an employee about some complaints that they received from members. And at the end of the investigation meeting, the manager said to the employee that, okay, I'm giving you a written warning for this, and it's going to go on your file, and I'll get it to you. And then came to us and said, please, can you send me a template for a written warning? First of all, no, we can never send you a template for a written warning because it's very specific to the actual case. And no, you absolutely cannot have a written warning as an outcome to an investigation. So that is where it went wrong. However, this club absolutely wanted to continue the process. So they then we explained what the process should have been, and they then said, okay, well, let's start this. First of all, they insisted on getting a warning, and we absolutely said, we cannot give you a warning for this because it can't be. And they then insisted on having a disciplinary meeting so that they can then give the warning as an outcome. And we advised against this over and over and over again. Now, please understand that we would advise you as many times as we need to. We will use wording like, we strongly suggest that you don't. But at the end of the day, we are your advisors. That's as far as we can go with it. We can't make you not do it. Although Caroline, she's pretty good at it. So, yeah, but we can't make you not do something. Okay. Then the person who had to hear the disciplinary, completely neutral party, hadn't seen anything, read the case and went, wow, we can't do this. And I'm like, yep. So basically, if your process has gone wrong somewhere and we are saying to you, you need to stop and cancel, you can't go ahead with your process, then we've assessed every option for you. We will always do that. So in this case, if the disciplinary went ahead and the employee was given a written warning, she would just appeal that warning and say that it was pre-decided because she was already given the warning in the investigation, which is incorrect. And that would have been true. So they would have had to, undo the warning, basically, null and void it. Or if she didn't appeal, but you used it further along. So let's say something happened again and now you're on a final written, or something happened again and you dismiss her. And then she's over 2 years, because at the moment she's not, which is the only reason she can't really do anything about it. But then she might be over 2 years and you're referring back to this morning. Your whole process is worth nothing, even if it's a slam dunk in the next time. And that is because your original process and your original warning wasn't proper. So it's really important that you speak to us before you start a process in dealing with an incident. And if we say to you, you've gone wrong, there's no way to save this, then we have considered every legal option. And in the end, they did decide to not go ahead because we said that there is no use. There is no use. It'll take up a lot of everyone's time just to be overturned anyway.
Yes. So you're building on really bad foundations, like the leaning tower of Pisa, but worse because it will actually fall over. So there's no point in carrying on and going, oh no, we'll just do it higher and higher because then it'll be fine. It will balance itself out. No, it won't. There's no point going ahead. Yeah. And it's always very frustrating because it's not that the employee is innocent. It's just that the club has followed the wrong process. So just being aware of that. We are trying to protect you. We're not trying to tell you off. We're trying to protect you so you can get the end result you want. But if you're not going to get that, there's no point carrying on because you're just going to waste everybody's time and patience, really, with it. So, has anybody got any questions today? Dawn.
Hi there. Got a site where the part-time HR manager left, and we've got a new electronic HR system where we put the right to works and the contracts. Now, I've just done an audit and I can see that she's uploaded contracts, but they are unsigned contracts. All of them are signed. So we're going to have to go through the physical old files and see if they are actually there and then upload them. If they are not, because I think what happened is when we took over that site, they got template contracts from you guys and they issued them all out. I'm not sure if they were all signed. If they are not, can I get them retrospectively signed? How do I make sure that we've got all that?
So the continuous service will start. That won't be changing anyway. And that's
Yeah.
So the fact that they're signed now, you just have the date that they're signed now. That's absolutely fine.
So it's
Yeah.
fine. Okay.
Yeah. The other thing obviously is going to be checking that you have the correct, because it doesn't sound that things have been done right, the correct right to work documentation.
I think, again, perhaps possibly, I'm down there. The right to work documentation is, again, maybe not completely uploaded and maybe it's in a physical file. So we can do all of that. That's fine. And I did do that in September, making sure that had got everything. But it just looks like she's uploaded the unsigned copies of the contracts and not the signed ones. And I'm just, if I can find them signed, I can upload them. But if I can't, can I just print them up and go, guys, you didn't sign it, and they sign it for today?
Yes, that's absolutely fine. I mean, if she could prove that she had issued them, a date that she actually issued them, then you could say, okay, you were issued with it, you didn't object, therefore it's come into effect.
Yeah,
it would be
much better. I may be able to find templates that she did issue.
But it would be much better to get it signed as always, because it's like, if they say, well, I'm not signing it, okay, talk me through what the problem is. Let's see what the problem is, and then you can get that resolved.
Because it doesn't make any difference. You know, they're accepting our term, they're accepting our salary, they're accepting our I'm just thinking for auditing purposes,
much
I know
better.
they always want, the signed contract. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Chris.
I have two questions, but they're both sickness related. But I'll ask one, and then if anybody else has got, we'll do it. So we have an employee who has taken 9 days sick so far this year. We stopped paying sick pay after and moved them on to statutory sick pay after 10. A lot of the days are a Monday, which I'm sure is a coincidence. Are we okay to ask them if there's something they're doing at the weekend that's impacting their ability to get to work on a Monday?
Yes, you would just be clever with your questioning. So the conversation.
Of course I would.
So don't say, "Are you getting drunk on a Saturday or Sunday?" The questioning would be: we've noticed a pattern with your absences. they all seem to take place on Monday. Can you tell me about that? And
Okay.
they might come straight out and say, yeah, sorry, I went out on the weekend. And then it's a conversation about, okay, well, we can't tell you what to do in your free time, but you need to make sure that you're fully fit for work. So you need to make steps or take action to make sure you are. And if going out at the weekend has impacted your work, then we've got a problem. We've got to make a choice. If they're not forthcoming with that information, you can probe a bit further. You can say, is there anything you do? Actually, I guess the question for you, Chris, is what are the reasons for the absences for Monday? What is the reason they're giving?
They're not feeling well. In fact, this week he was off Monday and Tuesday, and he is trying to get a doctor's appointment to go see. So,
Okay.
Everybody feels okay now, but it's not the first Monday where he just hasn't felt well. He's got a stomach upset or something like that. I don't think he's getting tanked up on a Sunday night, but there might be something he's doing that's kind of causing an effect over the weekend. But
okay. Yeah. So if he's not forthcoming originally to say, yes, it's because of this, you can then say, is there anything you're doing over the weekend that impacts it? Because, I have the stats, all your absences have been on a Monday. That, why do we think that is? So you can put the pressure on him, get him to tell you that without saying, I think that you're doing this, for example. But for someone who is taking the mickey, the return to work is your best weapon against this. So probe. So feeling unwell is not enough. What were your symptoms? Yeah, go into that. Every return to work, you didn't feel well. Tell me about that. What were your symptoms? Did you speak to a GP? Oh, I noticed that's the same as the last time. Is there something? Do you know what I mean? They could be your best weapon for someone who is taking the mick.
Okay,
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Okay.
I have another question, but I'll let somebody else have a go.
Yeah. Did anybody else have a question at the moment? No, sounds good. Off you go.
Okay. So again, potentially sickness related, but I just want to get an idea, a bit of a heads up. So we've got someone who they have got some stomach issues. I forget what it's called now, but anyway, but they've also flagged up on a bowel cancer screening test, and they're off. They're actually off today, funnily enough, go with further tests. So we're just wondering, is there anything we should be planning for if they end up going long-term sick? Or do we need to do anything first, or do we just sit and wait, and then when they come in and say, I'm really ill, I'm going to have to go long-term sick, I pick the phone up and go, help, like I usually do?
Nadia, do you want to do that?
Yeah, Chris, I'm afraid that's probably where you are at this point. You are playing that waiting game, and sadly, so is the employee probably at this stage. So you do have to wait until that employee comes to you and either shares, I have this going on, I'm going to need some treatment. That's the point where you go, oh, that's terrible news. I'm so sorry to you. And how can we help you? What do you need? And that's where you can then start to maybe talk about adjustments. Maybe they don't want to go long-term sick. Maybe they just need, maybe they're going to get, I don't know, chemo on a Monday morning so they can only work Thursdays and Fridays because they're going to be sick the rest of the week, for example. So maybe you can make adjustments for them at that point. So it's very much a welfare meeting when they bring this to you, and a meeting to see how you can help them.
Right.
If they do say, I'm going to be in surgery or whatever, or I'm going to, be in treatment and I won't be able to work because I'll be ill, and they do go long-term sick, it's really just, please do give us a call, but we will say this to you then. It will just be about managing that absence, staying on top of sick notes, having the odd welfare meeting here and there to keep in touch with them, but not harass them. And just see how long it carries on. Obviously, if you're a few months down the line and it's not getting better, that's the point at which you can then start to look at things like GP reports and so on. But yeah, it's a bit of a slow burner, I'm afraid, if it ends up.
That's what we thought.
Kind of different than when you have a broken leg and you're with that. And then you're coming back and maybe you have stability issues. Cancer is a bit more of a slow burner, and you've got to quite
I mean, I'm
gently.
hoping he comes back and everything's fine, and he's just
Hopefully.
carrying on with his other stomach issue. But yeah, yeah. Okay, thanks. That's really, really helpful. Thank you very much.
Good. Okay. So we will see you all next week. Enjoy the sunshine while it lasts till the end of the weekend. It's supposed to last until Sunday, so you've got a chance. It is too hot. But we've got air conditioning, so we're very happy to work really long hours, definitely. Yeah, we'll see you all I won't. I'm going to be in Venice next week because it's my birthday on Thursday. Yay!
You're on holiday.
So, I know, it's amazing,
That's
isn't it?
really odd. Yeah.
Yes, strange. I'm almost never on holiday, am I? Never. So I'll see you the week after. And I think actually the week after we're going to do that quiz because I'm interested to see having some regulars here as well, how much you actually know. And it's like, yes. And there will be chocolates for the winner of the quiz, definitely. Okay. So have a lovely weekend and we'll see you next week.
You too. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate your time. Cheers.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you want a free tribunal audit of your employment contract and handbook, click the link in the description below.